Canton, Texas, 50 miles east of Dallas, home of First Monday Trades Day, the world's largest flea market. And our courthouse, built under Roosevelt's New Deal. They used to house prisoners on the 3rd floor, but that was long ago. Our courthouse, home of the Beaver Dam scheme, home of the largest fine ever for making a counterclaim when sued, a First Amendment right, a fine of $62,885 for merely making a counterclaim. Home of the largest fine ever, an additional fine of $125,885 for merely asking for a different judge. And a finding, as a finding of law, of a delusional belief held only inside the mind of Birnbaum, a medical diagnosis. The Constitution, of course, gives one the right, even to be crazy, but not from the bench. Now we have criminals on our first 2 floors. Don't believe it? Here are the writs of execution, where they actually sent a sheriff with a badge and a gun to seize my property. The documents and lots more at my website, openjustice.us. That's .us. Else just Google on the likes of Beaver Dam scheme. Maybe you have to make it a phrase. Now we have criminals on our first 2 floors. Started when my neighbor, retired military, captain I believe, then bank loan officer, then pet shop owner, went to war over his beavers, dynamited a 15-foot section of a beaver dam, and flushed a 4-foot wall of water, beavers, brush, and whatsoever to kingdom come right across and upon my farm. And afraid the enemy would come back, wanted to treat my downstream section of Steve's Creek for the overgrown rats, as he called them. Permission denied. Problem was in his head. Next, letter from his lawyer. I have been retained to represent blah blah. Water problems which you're allowing to be created on your land. Apparently beavers have dammed up a stream flowing onto your property. Notice the onto. I'm downstream. The trapped water now floods as much as 10 to 12 acres of Mr. Jones' property. It is my further understanding that Mr. Jones has discussed the problem with you, and you have refused to remedy the situation or allow him to do so. Your nonfeasance in allowing the water build-up to invade Mr. Jones' property constitutes an indirect trespass. Mr. Jones prefers to avoid litigation to resolve this matter. However, he will have no choice unless you remove the Beaver Dam case or allow someone else to remove it. How about just calling the game warden? If damage is not removed within 30 days, or if an appropriate response is not received, Mr. Jones intends to proceed with suit, seeking his damages as well as injunctive relief. If Mr. Jones is forced to pursue litigation, he will seek to and be entitled to his attorney's fees. Is this a truthful statement of the facts on the ground? Next, the lawsuit. No mention of beavers in there. Comes now, and all that other good blah blah. Jones brings this action under Section 11.086 of the Texas Water Code. That's interesting. Birnbaum wrongfully built. Birnbaum built, and has all time since then wrongfully maintained a dam on the land in the natural channel of the Spring Creek to the height of approximately 4 feet and extending along the Spring Creek in the channel thereof for a distance of 20 feet. By building and maintaining the blah blah blah, irreparable damage, ditches to be formed so as to make it untillable. Does it look like it's ever been tilled? Sand, driftwood, and debris to wash onto Jones's land and settle there. Remember, I'm downstream. Birnbaum's diversion, blah blah, contrary to the prohibitions in sections 11.086 of the Texas Water Code, unless Birnbaum is ordered by this court to remove the dam constructed on Birnbaum's land, and blah blah. Jones was required to obtain the services of Richard L. Ray, a decent licensed attorney, and so on. Is this a truthful statement of the facts on the ground? All he had to do was call the game warden. And the question to the jury, did Birnbaum allow dams to flood his upstream property? Is that a truthful question by the judge, when all the jury heard was about beaver dams 166 times? And the judge forbidding me to show the jury the lawsuit he had filed, or even to talk to the jury about what I was sued for. Jury question should have been, did Birnbaum violate the Texas Water Code? Or simply even just, did Birnbaum even build a dam? Now we have criminals on our first 2 floors. I came to these United States as a 13-year-old from Germany. Was 8 years old at the end of World War II, when the American soldiers came. We had very little food. But I do remember a jingle, actually part of a whimsical praise of the herring, a fish. There was food for the poor folks. Wer Kopf von Schwanz kriegt, hat kein Glück, am besten schmeckt das Mittelstück. That's German for who gets the head or the tail is out of luck. The interesting part is in the middle. With this for now, I will leave out the middle piece of the tale, except to say that next I got conned by a crooked Dallas lawyer promising to save me from all this beaver dam stuff. I paid him a $20,000 non-refundable retainer, finally fired him. He sues me, claiming an unpaid open account for legal fees. There ain't no such thing. For $18,000 extra on top of the $20,000 he already had, all fraud. An open account is like between a house builder and a lumber yard. One keeps on getting stuff and pays off the old stuff at the same time. Again, wrong jury instructions and questions. Questions should have been, did there even exist an open account, instead of the judge instructing the jury that Mr. Birnbaum had failed to abide, i.e. poisoning the jury and using the jury as a weapon. We now have criminals on our first 2 floors. And herewith the tale of the storied tale. Here only one of my criminal complaints, the rest before the court and other authorities, waiting and waiting and waiting. Complaint titled, Complaint and Affidavit of Official Oppression and Abuse of Official Capacity upon Udo Birnbaum. My name is Udo Birnbaum. I'm 78 years old, reside in Van Zandt County, and am competent to make this affidavit. This complaint arises out of a $62,885 unconditional punishment upon me by a Judge Paul Banner by civil process titled Order or Motion for Sanctions for having made a cross-claim in a court of law, a First Amendment right. Hint. Civil process cannot unconditionally punish for past conduct, can only coerce into compliance with some order, has to provide keys to own release. And here was the phrase as caught by the court reporter, by Judge Banner. In assessing the sanctions, the court has taken into consideration that although Mr. Birnbaum may be well-intentioned and may believe that he had some kind of real claim as far as RICO, there was nothing presented to the court in any of the proceedings since I've been involved that suggest he had any basis in law or in fact to support his suits against the individuals, and I think can find that such sanctions as I've determined are appropriate. Judge Paul Banner, court transcript, sanction hearing. Was, of course, a jury case. The weighing of the evidence is supposed to be by the jury instead of the judge finding upon I think that suggest. We now have criminals in our courthouse on the first 2 floors. It has been 22 years since the start with the Beaver Dam scheme, and now above $500,000 with interest since 2002. And again, details on my web, openjustice.us, that's .us. Now we have criminals on our first 2 floors. Germans from infancy had been taught to obey the law. When Hitler came, all he had to do was to corrupt the courts. As Americans, we have the right, in fact, the duty, to speak out. So what can we do? Foremost, recognize the problem. And secondly, publicly cry for help. So, hey, FBI, where are you? Time to come and pick them up.